Today's collectible spot, we are having a look at the Medicom Toys Batman Hush Real Action Heroes 12-inch Superman. Spot found Superman the same time he found Catwoman, and, well, I picked up Superman later, but he was at the comic store at the same time as Catwoman. I just simply went back and picked him up later. He comes to us from the Batman Hush line from the folks over at Medicom Toys and the Real Action Heroes line of figures. He is 12 inches tall, comes with a clear display stand as Batman and Catwoman came with, and figure looks pretty good. In fact, Superman was kind of like the figure that got me interested in getting the Medicom toys. I saw Superman initially online. I wanted to pick him up, and then through the process of that, I ended up finding the Batman a while ago, and then ultimately found Catwoman as well. So Superman kind of really started my interest, I should say, in getting into the Real Action Heroes from Medicom Toys. The box art is very similar to Batman's, that you have Hush on the side, Superman, kind of a torso to head image on the front of the figure, and then you've got a stoic image of the figure down at the bottom corner. Of course, Batman's was black. Superman's here is a very Boy Scout blue. This side of the box features that same image as the front of the box, and we spin it around again. As for the back, Real Action Heroes also available, promoting on the back the Batman Hush black costumed Batman. Now, it actually says Real Action Heroes Batman Hush Black. I don't think I've ever seen this figure in a blue treatment. It is possible. I haven't seen it, though. To check out more from the folks over at Medicom Toys, you can go to www.medicomtoy.co.jp. And finally, just before Spot actually opens this up, you can take the flap, open it up completely, and you've got Jim Lee's artwork of Superman inside. Kal-El, or Clark Kent, the moment before destruction of the planet Krypton, he was placed in a space capsule and rocketed to Earth by his father, Jor-El. Raised by Mr. and Mrs. Kent, he sometimes plays an active role as Superman and sometimes works as a journalist as Clark Kent. You can also see the figure inside with the interchangeable hands. He's going to have the clear display stand in there as well. Looking forward to getting this guy out of packaging. Spot's going to take a break and get this guy completely out. And when we come back, we're going to get a better look at Superman. And then we'll also do some comparisons with him and Catwoman and also for Batman. So there's a lot more heading your way, guys. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Just before we have a look at the Man of Steel, we'll look at the clear display stand that comes with the figure. Same display stand as Catwoman, same display stand as Batman. Consists of a clear circular bottom base, a clear rod neck, and a series of interchangeable waist clips. The waist clips will vary in size, some larger, some smaller, the medium size here as well. They are adjustable, and you can slide them up and down the pole here. Usually I'll display it. You generally want to clip these around the waist, and why they do vary in size is, of course, because they are reusing the display stands from figure to figure. Figures such as Catwoman would obviously have a much smaller diameter of waist than, say, the likes of Superman here. The figure itself, out of packaging, looks pretty good, I have to admit. It does look very anime in the style of his face. Just kind of the way the expression in the eyes that they've given him, he does convey a very anime approach. Costume-wise, he is sporting his classic blue threads, complete with the underoos, now almost forgotten it seems on Superman's designs, although there are still comics that feature, the boy in blue with his red underoos also. The costume kind of conveys more, well, it's similar in Batman because the costume has a very plastic look to it. It's a little harder to digest, I think, with Superman here because you generally don't think Superman wearing almost like a PVC suit, which is almost what this figure ends up conveying. I wish it was a little more on a matte side as opposed to being less shiny, but I still think the figure's suit does well. The back, where the cape resides, you can see that the back The Superman emblem there is present. There's the back of the figure. They sadly all share the same issues. They have no butts to speak of whatsoever. He does have the cape snapped to the back, although there is no reason for me seeing as to why you would want to remove it. But it is there if you so wish. It does do a little bit of that bunching up that Batman's cape has the problem of. But the cape obviously doesn't peg in or doesn't go underneath his head, so you still get a full neck treatment with Superman here. He also still has that same issue where the underoos aren't a separate piece. They are stitched to the torso and the legs. So moving legs, be very careful. Really be careful in general with the costumes here because it's more this plastic. All you needed for that seam to start ripping or tearing or separating from itself, it would be a little problematic. But yeah, it's a pretty good looking figure. I think it proportions well. Now, it's really the same proportions as Batman. I'll show you a comparison in a second. But somehow it looks better being for Superman. Like the broad torso, the broad shoulders, the big muscular arms. Looks more like something that is fit for Superman. Maybe not so much fit for the Caped Crusader. Getting a look at his face. Face is good. The side profile, I think like that side profile of Superman works very well. You can see the S curl on his hair. The hair sculpted nicely. The paint is also very nice on Superman here. But it does look very anime. Perhaps I am the only one that sees that, but it does look like maybe it's just because he's got the long, narrow nose, the very high cheekbones, very narrow face, that it does convey that to me. But it's not too anime that it throws off the design of Superman. I think ultimately it works well. He's got a very froward? That's not even a word. He's got a very sunken down brow area there. I'm sure there was a word out there somewhere and I just couldn't think of it at the time. Paint's good. Again, I got no issues. I love the flesh color that they've given him. It works well. It's a warm flesh color. It's not cold. It's not pale. Does do a pretty good job on Superman. And like I promised, there is Superman. And we'll display him next to Batman. And you can see that they are pretty much sharing the exact same body. From the shoulders all the way down to the ankles, it is using the same body mold. I wish though that Batman doesn't or didn't use the same body mold as Superman. Superman just kind of feel like, and I think a lot of it, really the issue is the neck on Batman. Because the cape goes right into the head, it ends up making his head look too short, or maybe the neck too short. I find proportionately it looks better on Superman, even though really it looks like they are sharing the same bodies. Just works a little bit better, I think, for Superman. A good contrast though between the two. And lastly, one other comparison we can bring Catwoman in there as well. Catwoman a lot shorter than the two gentlemen in the back there. When it comes to Superman's poseability, he has the same as the Batman we've already had a look at. So ball joint head, ball joint shoulders. Again, being very careful about the fabric because that is like more of a plastic fabric. There's a rotation in the bicep, very large biceps on Superman here. A bend in the elbow. A swivel and hinge in the hand. He has the upper torso crunch, a waist swivel, ball joint legs, top thigh cut swivel on the legs, double hinge knee, and he does have poseability in the boots, but I mean really the boot itself is plastic, so there's not as much give to it, but you can theoretically still move the legs. And of course, like Batman, Superman's cape is on a wire frame, but I try to keep it as smooth as possible. If anything, I would probably just have the Superman displayed with the cape straight down. But if you wanted to, you could display it and kind of have it more billowing and blowing, like the wind has caught the cape and it's blowing it from behind. The Medicom toys, Real Action Heroes Hush Superman, I think ends up being a better figure stacked next to Batman. I liked Batman, I loved Batman, but I think I like Superman just a little bit more. Proportionally, everything kind of jives a little bit better than the Batman figure. Proportionally, Superman looks a little bit better. The face sculpt is quite nice on him, and he's still got the classic blue threads that, for me, growing up, that was Superman. That was, as laughable as it might be now by today's standards that he has red underoos, that was Superman for me growing up. Found this guy at the toy store, at the comic book store. And so, of course, if you guys are looking for Superman now, you could probably find him on eBay or aftermarkets as well. Or, as I always say, check out your local comic book stores. And you might end up finding this guy right there as well. Would I recommend him? I would recommend Superman. I don't know if I would recommend Batman, even though he had a fantastic head sculpt. I think Superman, though, is the better. If Batman v Superman was depicting here in Medicom style, I think I would almost say the victor here is Superman. Today's collectible spot, again, we were having a look at the Medicom toys, Batman Hush, 12-inch figures. We're looking today at Superman. Stay tuned, guys. Spot's going to have more collectible spots heading your way. As always, thanks for watching. See you next time.